In this video, I'm going to be talking about false economy in painting. And by that, I'm talking about the paints that you get in the cheap shops. That people buy them, they buy them for themselves, but it's false economy because all they'll do is put you off painting. The kinds of things I'm talking about now, I'm not talking about necessarily what they call student quality paints that you find in the art stores. For example, Winsor & Newton do student quality oils, but they're actually good. I mean, let nobody tell you that you can't paint a painting with them. They are actually very good, and they should be considered your entry level if you're going to be, economizing on your paints. I'd say a good, huge percentage of paintings made in Ireland and the UK would be done with Winsor & Newton Winton, for example, and such like paintings. Such like paints, I should say. This is all unscripted, as usual. I never script anything. So what I'm talking about are these kind of things. So let me pull away from the light for a second so that you can see them. Very small tubes. They're kind of a brand that you've never heard of. Those particular ones, I think I bought at Tiger, and I think they're aimed at children, but to be honest, I would never give my children paints like that because they'll think that the problem is them, and probably most of the problem is the paints. They're like all of those children's art supplies. They're just not very good. So I'd get them as good as you possibly can, without breaking the bank. Right, but we're going back to adults. So that's the kind of paints I'm talking about, and I'm going to compare them by doing a little still life painting. I'll show you that in a minute. And I'm going to compare them, pit them up against these, which are the Winsor & Newton Griffin range. They're artist quality paints. Now these ones have got an alkyd in them. All that does is make them flow a little more and dry more quickly, or at least set more quickly. Okay, so that's what I'm going to compare them to. The problem with these paints, and I haven't actually done this yet. I'm going to paint them and see how they pit up against one another. But the problem is, what I found usually is that just isn't enough pigment in the cheap paints. There's enough pigment in them to make them look like the colour that they're going to be, or that they purport to be. But when you start trying to use them, there's just no covering power. This happened to me just last night in a painting class I was in, where somebody brought along student quality acrylics. Now, the difference between student quality acrylics and professional acrylics seems to be greater than it is with oils. So I'll do another video about acrylics later, because she couldn't get a decent painting at all out of her paints. Right, so what I'm going to do is show you first what I'm going to paint. So we'll look at that here. Okay, so this is the still life. It's a photograph of a simple apple. Okay, it's got to be a simple painting, so I'll be doing it twice, and I don't want to make it look that outrageously different because I've chosen too complex a task. So it'll be that, and I'm going to paint it on this. Okay, now just look down here at what we've got here. So this is the artist quality here. Okay, and this one I've called them entry level, because some of the student quality paints is good, as I was saying. But let me just go through the colours, because typical of this kind of thing here is that the colours aren't even often marked the same way. And from range to range, the names of the colours changes anyway. Certain of them stayed the same, like yellow ochre or whatever. But for example, there was no cadmium yellow in this entry-level range. So what we have here on, where are we? This side here. So that yellow there is called lemon yellow. Now, I've never come across a lemon yellow that I like using in anyone's range. student or artist. So I always stick to cadmium yellows or chrome yellows, just merely because they're more powerful. They've got more covering power. Lemon, anything that has the word lemon in it tends to be transparent, and I like making a colour transparent by putting oil in it or whatever medium, rather than you can't make a paint more powerful than it actually comes out of the tube. Yeah, so the reds are going to be different. You can see the difference between the reds there. It looks like a cadmium red. What do they call it? Let me have a look. So this one is called scarlet red. Okay, so this was there was another red in there, vermilion, but vermilion was too warm. The red that I'm using is a cool one on the artist quality side over here. That one there is permanent rose. Now there's no permanent rose in the cheap range. Okay, what they have as a blue, where we have the blue here, is they call it ultramarine. It doesn't look anything like ultramarine when it comes out of the tube. It looks like something in between a cerulean blue and a cobalt blue. Happily, because the blue that I'm using in the artist range is a cobalt blue anyway. So they're relatively analogous, I should say. And we've got burnt sienna. They're both called burnt sienna. So even looking at it from my point of view here in the studio, I can tell the difference that one has more pigment in it than the other. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is a wash. So first with the entry level. Even as it is, it's very thin. It's giving some good colour. For a wash, I suppose, it's not such a bad thing. Okay. So that's a lot of solvent, very little paint. So here we go. Oh, let's make sure I use a different brush. And this is the artist quality. Straight away, I can feel the difference. I feel I've got a lot of pigment to work with. That's very little. Okay. I'll just tamp those down. Get my rag. Yeah. Okay. So let's change scenes. Okay. Right. So let's do a drawing for each. So cheap first. I usually draw with a little bit of burnt sienna. I'm not going to be too accurate here. Really, this is about the colour. It's a simple sort of shape. Leaf coming down there like that. The apple's divided by colour across there, and there's a shadow coming around here like that. Okay, the rest is blue. Okay, let's do it with the other. Little drawing with just burnt sienna. Same amount on the brush. It leaves a much clearer mark. Okay. There's the shadow there. stalk there. Leaf coming down there like that. Okay. Same. Our brightest bright is on the red side of the apple. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to start out with the star of the show, the red. Okay. So back to the cheapy cheap. Let's get some red. It's a kind of a, let me say, it's a slightly cool red. Add a bit of blue to that. There. Now I need a bit of a shadow. I'm going to add more blue to the red over here for the darkest part of the red up here. Okay, there, like that. And it comes down the side of the apple. Okay. Now let's get the brighter red and block that. All right, let's do the same. Right, so I'm going to grab some of the permanent rose, which is more like the apple is in the first place, and I'm going to put some blue in just to make the dark dark. Straight away, the difference is like chalk and cheese. Although I don't recommend using chalk or cheese. But there we go. Enough of my dad jokes. Here we go. My children would be appalled. So let me just grab some of the red. Push that down. Oh, it's just the difference between the flow of the paint and the amount of pigment that's in it. Okay, there we go. Now, to the green side. So, here we go. I think this will sort of, this will be revealing. But if you'd like a little extra to go along with these tutorials, I've put together some resources and fun merchandise in my shop. You'll find it right below this video. There are ebooks with tips and techniques for beginners and intermediates, plus aprons to keep you paint-free, and mugs to keep your coffee warm while you work. Every purchase helps support the channel, so I can keep making these free video lessons for you. Thanks so much for your support, and happy painting. Now, let's get back to the video. The looks of it. Let's make up a green, okay? So yellow and blue makes a green, doesn't it? So yellow and blue. Okay, got a bit of green there. Now I want a shadow version of that. Add in some more blue and maybe a touch of red. We'll darken that. More blue again. Okay, so down that side is the shadow. You can put in a whole lot of paint, and it doesn't seem to cover. And it feels thin. There's a difference in the feeling of the paint, the way it goes on. It feels like when you brush over something, you'll just be picking the paint back up again. There's the other green part there. And I suppose I better do the apple, I beg your pardon, the leaf. Put that in as a, there, like that. Okay. And now, over to the other side. Let's make up a green. Make sure I get the red out of that brush. I'm using only one brush, so there's the yellow and there's the cobalt blue, and you get a nice bright green, Now I need a shadow of that, so let's push that more blue into it. And I think a touch of red into that shadow. I'll put that in first. I might even put in a little bit of burnt sienna in that. Okay. Okay, and down there's the shadow. I mean, I'm sure you can see on the screen how different it is. And now to the light part. There. And the leaf, add a bit more red into that green there. That can go there like that. So I've got those blocked in. Now, foreground. It's a rich blue, tending towards red, I suppose. So put a bit of red into it. Just take a chunk of the blue, a bit of red into it, and a bit of white. That's as close as I can get. Now I just need to add more blue and red into that for the shadow side. It really is dark, so I'm going to put more blue and a bit of burnt sienna into that. Okay, I'm going to put the shadow in first. Oh, beg your pardon, wrong one. Silly Billy. Here, across there. Down to the end of the apple there, like that. And then there's a bit over there. And a bit coming down there like that. A bit going across there like that. And it's a bit dark there. You can see how it's just lacking in pigment. And now the main part of the blue, because I need to load up. And put that there. God, it's hardly any different. That is frustrating. It's hard to make it do anything. And if you were a new painter, you'd be thinking, I can't paint. Okay, I need to bolster up that shadow. I'll put a bit of burnt sienna into that blue. Maybe put a bit of red into it as well. Try and get a dark. And you can feel it just picking up the paint from underneath. Yeah, that's as good as I'm going to get. Every time I touch the paint, it picks the paint away. Now, other side. Making a blue background. So blue plus a bit of permanent rose for the red. And a bit of white. Very rich, bright pigment. A bit more red into it there. Now I need a dark of that. A bit of blue and a bit of burnt sienna, maybe a little bit of red into it. Okay, let's put in that as a dark. Very rich. Shadow coming down there like that. Very definite difference. There, and then that can come across there like that. And now get the main body colour. put that in. Plenty of pigment to work with. It responds. Okay, got that there like that. That might shape my apple a little bit. Now, background. It's a light green, greenish blue for the most part. So put that there, get my cheap brush and let's make up. So plenty of white, a bit of yellow, bit of blue, bit more blue. More blue. I haven't got very much room on the palette because I've divided the thing in half, but we'll get by. So there, maybe. So, and let's put in that background. All right, and there, down into there. We're not going to worry about that gradation going across there. It's not necessary for this purposes of this video. I'll figure out that made that leaf a little bit bigger now in a second. It's the same with the other one. Okay, so put that brush away. Let's do the same thing with the artist quality. White plus yellow. It's funny going from one thing to the other because you get used to not having enough, so you go barging in to get more paint than you actually need because it's so rich with pigment. A bit more blue. Ooh. My natural inclination is to go over to the left of the palette where I usually have things. Maybe a little bit more blue. God, I'm doing it nearly every time. Now, let's put that in. Oh, yeah, definitely different. You feel you can sculpt with this this paint. There. Leave room for making more of that leaf. You can come down there like that. Good. And across there like that. All right, clean that brush. Now, let's indeed make more of that leaf. Go back to the cheap side. Try and make some more green. Yuck. I can see through the paint to the surface of the palette. I've never liked lemon yellow either. Right, okay, so let's push this down a little bit. That'll do there. And across to the other side, do the same thing. Okay. Up from there. Right. Now, let's get back into the more of the details. There's a mixture of the two. two tones. There's the red, pinky red, mixed with the green. So I'm going to mix those two together, see if I can get a russet colour. It goes in between the green and the red. It's hard to make. Okay, so in there. Do it with the other one. There, mix the two together. More towards the green. I can put that in there. There's a pink. Here. Oh, sorry, big one, wrong one. Gosh. Pink there, pink. Here, it's hardly making a difference. I do want to push that darker red in, so over here. I can't get that really dark. Let me try again. Let me get that red and that blue of the cheap stuff. See if I can get a dark, use more paint. It just never goes very dark. I have to load it on there. There's the shadow of the leaf there. Coming down there like that. It's dark. Okay. Trying the other side. I mean, I had no problem making the dark there, but I do want to push that area up a wee bit across there. And then the really rosy part. Add a bit more yellow into that. Around there like that. Push that out a little bit. Okay, and I need the similar things here. I need a pink. There. It's so much easier to make a difference in your painting. With the good paints. Okay, and lighter again. Bit more yellow into that. Across there. Okay. And then with the cheaps, I'm going to try and get the dark green. The green in shadow, which is really hard to make. Push that out a little bit. And I'm picking up the paint again. It's awful. Okay, grab some more yellow, a bit of white. trying to lay the paint on a bit more thickly now. Neat paint. I can't even go near the leaf because there's so much time to be spent messing around with the colours on the apple. Add a bit of burnt umber into it, or burnt sienna I should say. Trying to make that darkest green. And it doesn't seem to make any difference. It's virtually behaving like watercolour. Now, there's some dark green up there in the leaf too. But it's not going to take. Doesn't stay. Doesn't stay. Let's try the griffins. Dark there. Okay, and this needs to be pushed out. Up there, like that. I need to make the apple a little bit the same as the one next to it, much as I can. There. Push that into the paint. You can't do that with the. It's very difficult to sculpt and model with the cheap paint. Put in some dabs for this apple here. Apple colours, I should say. Okay, I want to do something with the deep red shadow. Up there. And down there. And across there. Where the least amount of light is getting through. Grab a little bit more of the green, join that up. Okay. I just can't get that dark to do anything in there. So I'm going to make a dark for the stalk. Oh, right, wrong brush. Cheap paint, dark. As dark as I can get it. Come up there. And there. And there's a little bit of warmth there. So that means I can sculpt my background a little bit. Okay, really have to load the paint. So let's sculpt this a little bit into position. There. Okay. And I'm going to try to do something with my foreground, which I think is going to be virtually impossible with this paint. It looks dull and thin. I can't get the contrast. Let's try. I'm desperate to get that dark. more blue, bit of burnt sienna. So if I'm just going to try and sort of leave the paint onto the surface without picking up the paint that's underneath. A bit of gradation there. It's not really working. It's just picking up the paint that's underneath it. I'll try it on the other one. Okay, so what am I going to do? A little bit of darkness across the top of that green. There, like that. And underneath. Push that shoulder up. Let's put a nice bright end on that leaf. There. Let's put a stalk, so a bit of burnt sienna and blue, make it dark. Put a bit of yellow into it, put a bit of white into it, just slightly greyish. Okay, and then across there like that. Get my background. Okay. Fill in that little bit there. Shape that leaf a little bit. You can feel how much pigment there is. And let's add a little bit of warmth into the stalk. There and there. That means I can go back in with my background and sculpt that in. Good. I'm going to put in. I'm going to go back to cheap. Sorry if I just whacked off the microphone or the camera there. So I'm going to put in the highlight. So that little bit of slightly pink. Put that in there. And do the same for the other side. Get a bit of that pink, put it in. And then the brightest highlight just coming into it. Cheap first, and then it doesn't do anything. There. And now I was going to do something with the foreground, wasn't I? So blue, bit of white. Touch of yellow, see what happens there. And you can't do this. It just wasn't sort of working for the cheap paint. Hard to put in any subtleties because the paint just wasn't staying where it was put. Just break up that line a little bit. And it must be reflecting. I'm not even going to bother with the cheap paint because I couldn't get it to stay. So I can have it reflecting a bit of the apple colour if I want. Obviously on this side it will be reflecting in the foreground. And a little bit of green on the other side. Luxuries that were not afforded to me with the cheap paint. I can break that up a little bit. Break up this, let it sort of go into the around the how would you say, out of, you know, when you want something to recede, you can soften it. Soften this there. Soften all of that. All very difficult to do with the other stuff. And then I can soften that line. Well, to be fair to the cheap stuff, I must try and do the same thing here. Oops. Get right. Let's get rid of that light colour out of it. All I feel I'm doing is picking up the paint. This would be I think a frustrating and an interest-ending endeavour for anyone who wants to paint. You'd say, no, I'm not going to bother doing this. How do people come up with decent paintings? No depth. Back to the artists. I'm not sure how much, you know, my webcams can pick up about what this is like. It really is the difference between chalk and cheese. And you would know, it'd be rather like sort of, you know, taking up an interest in the violin, you know, and your first instrument was a Stradivarius. You know, you'd know it wasn't you, or you'd know it wasn't the instrument that was causing the problems. And likewise the other way around. You start out with a cheap instrument and you think it's you, and you're not the problem. Scratching away there, annoying your family. Putting in subtleties here which cannot be put in with the cheap paint. A little bit more pink. A little bit more red in that that green for the leaf. I'm not going to spend too long on the leaf, but just some variations in it. And some darkness that coming out of there. Extend that shadow down a little bit. And there. Now at this stage, it's a joy to put the paint down because it's kind of almost sort of adhering to itself. Whereas this, you try to put more paint down, it takes the other paint up. And there's a difference of intensity that it's difficult for that camera to pick up. Let's move this down here. A bit more pink. A cooler pink, actually. A cooler pink up here. There's no point in talking about colour temperature with the other stuff because you can't achieve it. Or at least I can't, but okay. And to work away, oh sorry, I beg your pardon, wrong one. I took up a little bit of the cheap paint for the background. I feel like I've got sort of options. With the artist quality paint that I just don't have. Okay. So there you go. It's hard to see it from my position where I'm sitting. There's an intensity and a depth to the colour here, which is absolutely missing from here. And here you can see it. You can see it there. You can see the wash coming through. I couldn't get the paint to sit down on top of that. It was the same everywhere in the painting. The most successful was the red part, I felt. Everything else, maybe the background too, didn't work too badly. But everything else, I found it was almost impossible to use. Now there's less yellow needed in that red. There's a lot of yellow needed here, and that's part of the problem is lemon yellow, I think. I mean, on top of the fact that it's a cheap paint, all those ones that are called lemon yellow are transparent, and they don't really they don't work well for me anyway. So let me just switch back to myself. Yes, so there you go. That's the difference between, let me see, between those two. Okay, cheapy cheap, artist quality. They're a good buy. It's not too much of an expense to buy these ones, the good quality ones. You will feel like painting, but those you'll give up. You'll wonder why your paintings are never successful. You know, I mean, part of it is obviously we're all sort of trying to achieve something, and we're always trying to move forward. That will stop you moving forward, I think, and go for something like that. Upwards, you know. But even if you wanted to, for example, if you're going to use the Winsor & Newton, the Winton colours, you'll get successful paintings out of them. They are student quality, but they're not sort of entry level. And I just wanted to show you the difference and why it's a false economy.